So I'm just going to talk a little bit about my experience with Chat GPT and how I started using it and my experience with it for learning electronics and software, like doing Arduinos. And the electronics part was pretty good. I learned a lot how to use components I was familiar with, but didn't really know how to use them. And so that part was okay. The software part was really difficult, and it took months. I mean, a good software engineer could have did my project probably in a few days, and it literally took months. Partially because I'm injured and can't sit up for very long, but also just the frustration part of chat not being able to write the software correctly. And so how it kind of started was I did a project and somebody commented and asked me if I knew how to make a motor automatically stop and then wait a few seconds and then restart again. And I really didn't. And one of the things is he didn't want to use Arduino, just relays. And I thought, well, I do want to use Arduino. And so I knew someday I was going to go try to learn how to program them and and use them for other projects. I eventually did get it to do this project. That's a whole nother story. I got a video on that too. So I just remembered while editing this video that I tried to get it to duplicate this start stop program. I couldn't find it because I did a bunch of changes on the computer. So I couldn't find the original one. Eventually, I think I did. But this is right now when I was trying to do this video, and it couldn't do it. So a program that it wrote for me very easily once before, it could not make it work again. So that's what I'm saying. That's part of my frustration with dealing with chat. It can't really remember what it did in the past and duplicate it. But how I started is I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube, and I like the Paul McWhorter one. I watched a bunch of those, and I really got the basics down. And if you're going to want to learn any software programming or these AIs, at least the ones I use, they can't write what you want if you got something fairly difficult. So I looked around for what good AIs were out there to program specifically Arduinos, and I didn't find anything that I wanted to use. And I just thought, well, everybody keeps talking about this chat and that it can write software, and it can. And I definitely couldn't have done this project without it, but it was pretty frustrating. I started off with the free version, and it doesn't do very much. It doesn't have a lot of memory or anything. So I upgraded to the $20 a month version. I wasn't going to spend any more than that on it. And it was a lot better. And it still runs out of memory. It can't write the whole code I need. It has to do it in 2 or 3 sections because it is a pretty big code that I was expecting it to write for me. And when we couldn't get the code to work properly, it would start saying, oh, the board you're using won't support what you want to do. And so I started purchasing other boards, and I ended up on the Teensy, and it's working good. I think the other boards are going to work. I'm going to start trying to use that code. I can't just take that code and put it into an ESP32. It won't work. Pins are different, things like that. So I'm working on that to try to get it to work on some other boards. The first one I tried was ESP32, and it started having me modify my computer and add all these different programs to try to program this when we could have did it from Arduino IDE. And at one point my computer froze up, and I was like, what is this thing doing to me? And one nice thing is I contacted OpenAI, and they were really friendly and helpful. I ended up not needing to use them. I got it working on my own. I don't remember exactly what I did, but it was basically just restarting and reloading a lot of programs. So then I looked on Google and YouTube and tried to find out why I was having such a hard time with this. And basically, the consensus I got was that you need to know a lot of software to be able to use chat to write you software. So when it's not understanding what you want and doesn't write what you want, that you can figure it out. And one or two times I was able to do that. Most of the times I would just have it rewrite it and explain, here's what's not working, or here's what's working wrong, and explain it to him. And that literally took months. It would just rewrite the same thing over and over and over and wouldn't change anything. And that I didn't understand. At one point, I started asking it, is OpenAI playing tricks on people? Is this some kind of joke? I just couldn't understand why it would just write the same thing over and over and not change what I was trying to get it to do, whatever it was doing wrong. Another thing I didn't like was that it would over explain things. If you asked it a yes or no question, I would get paragraphs in the answer, and I would just stop it and say, just answer me yes or no. This is a yes or no question. You can still get a sentence out of it. And it loves to over explain things or give you too many steps. It's like, because then when you try to go back and you're doing steps, and it was difficult for me, it may not be an issue for you, but I would say, just give me a step at a time so I can see what happens and see if we're in the right direction. That brings me to when I started to do this video, I wasn't really sure on what I wanted to do or even how to do it. This is different from videos I've done in the past. And so I started asking it, and I didn't like its outlines or how it was saying things. I wrote my outline and it changed it too much where I felt like it wasn't in my voice. But then when I tried to copy and paste it from my computer to the iPad or vice versa, it wouldn't work. And I've been copying and pasting back and forth this way for months and months and never had a problem. So all of a sudden, when I was doing this video, I started having problems. So when I tried to copy and paste it, it would cram everything on the right side of the computer. So where you see I'm moving the cursor up and down, it was just in that little area. And then it started putting it like this. So the titles were on the left, and then it was off to the right. And about after 3 or 4 tries of talking to it, it finally gave me this format that made way more sense to me. So while I was making this video, I thought I was having some medical issues. And I thought, why are you so much better at giving medical advice than writing software? And it gave me a really good answer. It's like there's a lot of medical information out there. And for what I was doing, it was very customized. When you're writing a software specialized program, that it's a lot harder. And boy, did I learn that. So I would say if you're going to use it for software, you got to have some kind of background. You got to know what's going on with the software. So when it's doing something that's not exactly right, you know how to correct it or help guide it to get you in the right direction. So thanks for watching. I guess basically what I'm saying with the software, is that it's not going to be able to write everything. When I did the start and stop project, it did write it the first time. And that kind of got me too much confidence in it to thinking it could do this other complicated one. I mean, just trying to read voltages and currents was months and months of trying to find the right equipment and how to get it to write the right software. So it was pretty tough. In the end, I guess it was worth it. I learned a lot. And so just be prepared if you're going to try to use it. Have some background in whatever you're asking it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.